What's up, Totem Pole Nation? Welcome back to Lambo and Matt's World of Sports. A couple days late, but we are getting into the South Carolina takedown of Iowa in the Women's National Championship, 87-75. We'll get into the details of the game, and then we'll also get into Dawn Staley now has her third national championship, bringing South Carolina's total as a whole to 3 as well. And we'll talk about where she's going to be placed now in the GOAT talk of women's college basketball. Obviously, there's huge names that we're going to get into when it comes to that realm and where she ranks in that. But we are all ears to y'all's opinion. We'll give ours as well. Before we get into all of that, make sure to visit totempolenation.com to get some gear, support the boys. Our socials are scrolling below. If you have any ideas about what you would like us to talk about, we'll get to that as well if you just wanted to drop us a follow. So DM, follow those socials. Shout out to Sideline Sports Network. As always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into the Women's National Championship right now.
Well, congratulations. South Carolina won the national title. Are you surprised that they won the national title? No. Some people on the outside are. Here's why, though. South Carolina this year won a championship with a different roster. Now, that normally doesn't really happen in the game of college basketball, but we got to give Dawn Staley some props here. We got to give her some props. I mean, she was great as a player. She coached at Temple before she got the job at South Carolina. Did some great stuff with Temple. Did great stuff with Temple. And then came to South Carolina from 2008 to now. Bro, she got to be top 5. Now, I'm not going to say she's the greatest just yet because Tara Van Deer did retire. She retired, but she's up there, right? So I got to give her some respect. Pat Summitt is great. Gino, got to give respect to Gino. And then Kim McCauley's up there too, what she did. LSU. I got to give her props. She's in the top 5, right? 3rd national title. 3rd. There's not a lot of coaches in college basketball from the women's side that have 3 championships. Not a lot. Not everybody has 3. Some people have 2. Some people have 1. She's in my top 5, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like if it wasn't for that COVID season for South Carolina, because they were 32-1, before that COVID season got canceled, you're telling me this 2019-2020 South Carolina team couldn't win, the title in that season, only losing 32-1? And in the last 3 years, you only lost 3 games. Man, look, it's very hard to go undefeated in any sport. But the way that Dawn Staley's doing it at the level, give her props. Her total record is 440 and 106. That's a career winning percentage of 80%. 80. Oh, Lord. I mean, look, man, I have a lot of stuff I want to say about Dawn Staley, but you got to have your take, and we're on crunch time, but give her props. South Carolina, for the last 3 seasons, has won at least 35-plus games, and her ability to do it with a different roster, she's definitely in the top 5. And women's college basketball, I've been more invested into it than I ever have in the past. Trust me, women's college basketball is the best thing that I've seen. I'm not going to say it's better than the men's. I don't want to be, gender or whatever the fuck, to call it. But when it comes to women's college basketball, it's great.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely great. I think we talked about it multiple times during this season. We were paying more attention to the women's side than we were the men's. But in the grand scheme of things, still have a little bit. Kind of not. The women's national championship got more viewers than the men's national championship did. So it's not just us. It's the women's game is more compelling right now than the men's is. Now, that is star value. I think it was like the star of the men's side, like individually, was Zach Edey, and most of the people were talking about him because they didn't like the way he played, versus you go over to Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and Georgia and Liz, and there's just like every top team in women's college basketball has like their own star. Cameron Brink over there, like Juju and at USC, like every single top team has a notable name. So I think that's the difference, and that's why people wanted to watch that more. It's more compelling. And then also adding in the factor of a completely undefeated team versus the most polarizing figure in women's basketball facing off in a championship game. Of course, that's going to get viewers at a good time, not at 9:30 at night, like at a good time where people can sit down and watch. So I don't think that viewership-wise, the men's side did themselves any favors by putting that game so late, but the numbers don't lie. People were more invested in the women's game this year. In that game in particular, it kind of played out how we had talked about it beforehand. We both predicted South Carolina was going to win. And part of the reasoning of that was South Carolina runs a 9-girl rotation. That is insane, especially in tournament basketball. Most teams run 6. Iowa ran 6 in this game. When you have depth like that, and like the scoring difference from bench points was like outscored by like 40 points on the bench or something like that.
And they were getting offensive rebounds too. The offensive rebounds were very key. The size advantage they had against Iowa.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. Like if the 2 girls that they have in to start, who are like their towers down there in the middle, if they get tired, they've got another one they can bring in off the bench. So it's like the depth there, you can't really compete with it. If you have 3 less people that can play at a high level, especially when your offense mainly goes through one person. Now we've seen other girls on Iowa step up in the past, but you weren't expecting that in the national championship game. And she got her 30, but she got her 30 on super inefficient scoring. And I think that was probably what Dawn's game plan was. Like, she's going to get her points, but we just need to make sure that people elsewhere, it's the same thing with like the Zach Edey plan. They're going to get their points, right? If we limit what the other people are going to do and maybe throw her or him off a little bit, we're going to win this game. And we saw it on the UConn side. We saw it with this game in South Carolina. Now, when it comes to Dawn Staley, you go ahead.
No, I'm just saying in that game, Iowa turned the ball over way more than expected, especially very early in the game when they had the lead. But then South Carolina in the second half was able to take advantage of that because Iowa turnovers was just catching up with them. It's all about the turnover game in the last game of the championship. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to where Dawn ranks, I think if you like combine the entirety of her basketball career, she's top 3, probably top 2. If you just combine everything, her as a player in college, in the pros, and then coaching elsewhere, like dog, right? Pains me to say it. She's from UVA, but like she's just a dog, and not much else to say there. But if we're talking purely coaching, like you mentioned, Gino is, I think, clear-cut number 1. Head coach at UConn since '85. When he took over, they'd had 1 winning season ever. And now since he's been the coach, they've been to like 23 Final Fours, 11 championships, in a 4-peat at one point. Like you can't really say anything to defend anyone else being at 1 when it comes to the women's coaching side. Pat Summitt obviously has 8 championships. The Lady Vols were the team to beat for a very long time until Gino kind of took that over with UConn. And then, like you said, the coach from Stanford that just retired, Tara Vanderveer. She's got 3 championships, most wins of all time in men's and women's. So it's tough to put Dawn over her yet as well.
Kim McCauley. What about Kim McCauley?
See, that's kind of my line. That's where I'm like debating.
It's in the middle type thing, is what you're saying, between her and Kim McCauley?
I think I would hear arguments from both sides and understand both sides when it comes to those two, because Kim has the edge when it comes to champs. She's got 4, and she's done it at 2 different programs. So like, that's real. That's some good shit. Now, I don't like her personally, but can't disrespect what she's done as a coach, you know? So it's close. I think I'd still probably give Kim that edge right now, though. Now, recently, Dawn's won 1, right? Probably, or maybe 2, like when it comes to the past, like 5 years.
2 in the last 4 years.
Well, that's what I mean.
3. My bad. 3. 2 in the last 3.
Past 5 years, she's the number 1 coach. But in the grand scheme of things, Kim Mulkey is still, regardless of how obnoxious she is, she's still 3-time Coach of the Year, 4 championships. She's got 5 Final Four appearances. I don't know.
Dawn Staley in South Carolina, they've been to the Final Four every single year for the past 4 years. Like, that's just – it's hard to kind of argue that you've been there.
Yeah, she has 6 total, 7 30-win seasons.
Yeah. 35 plus the last 3 years.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, I can see arguments both sides when it comes to those 2 at the 4 and the 5 spot. I wouldn't, be surprised if someone put Dawn at 4, Kim at 5, or flip it, and I'd be cool either way.
And then, what you were mentioning about the arguments, not a lot of coaches can win with a whole new roster. She won with literally a whole new roster. Like, how hard? It's hard to do that. It's kind of with Kentucky, Calipari getting freshmen and can't win with freshmen. She said she got a whole new roster. She said, I'm going to win with y'all. Yeah, I mean, it's all about the buying the commitment, though. It's all about the buy-in.
If you go to Kim Mulkey's, like, her career path, though, like, she left Baylor, like, right after winning a championship, right?
I think so.
No, 2 years after winning a championship, she left. And we're talking about, like winning with a new roster. She took over that team, made the tournament, and then the next year they were champions. So, like, she's done some pretty impressive things as well. 4 or 5, that's where I'm putting those 2 in my list. Well, I think that's pretty general consensus.
Well, there we have it. Dawn Staley, we'll see if she wins another national championship next year. College basketball is going to get more exciting. I know Caitlin Clark is in the WNBA, but it's going to get more exciting. Just wait. All you have to do is wait. Dawn Staley, you might get your 4th title, and then you might be considered maybe number 2 or number 1. We'll see what happens. Don't forget to follow.
Here's the thing. Sorry, one more point. That's the thing as well about South Carolina. They run that 9-man rotation. That's 4 coming off of the bench that are most likely coming back next year. Like, they're already locked and loaded for next year, and you already know the class is going to be insane that they're bringing in with freshmen as well. So, like, and then transfers, and I'm sure that they're going to, like, capitalize on that. South Carolina might be in the driver's seat from now on.
South Carolina might win the title next year. I'm going to actually, you know what I'm saying? The 2025 or 2024 national championships on the women's division will be South Carolina. I am calling it because I predict the future. But don't forget to follow Total Pole Nation on all social media platforms. This is Lambo and Matt's World of Sports. We'll catch you later. Y'all have a great day.